Hi, I'm Waffle.
And I'm Hawkeye.
We're here today to do our obligatory Q&A video ahead of our 2024 Appalachian Trail through hike. We're going to be starting here in a little over a week, and we're very excited, and we've had quite a few folks that have asked us questions about the trail, about our hike, and we'd like to take just a few minutes and answer those questions and just kind of let you know a little bit about what our hike's going to look like this year. So our first question came from Diane, and she says, are you going to start where you left off before?
No, we are not. We are actually starting completely over, and we're hoping to get an actual through hike this time.
Yeah, as you recall, we hiked in 2019, and we made it just a couple of days into New Jersey. We pulled off just south of High Point State Park at Vernon, New Jersey, and the wonderful restaurant Gyp's Tavern, which I highly recommend to any through hikers who are headed out. They have incredible French fries and cold drinks and hamburgers. It's just a few tenths of a mile to the west of Trail there in Vernon, and I highly recommend it. So yeah, we are going to through hike. We both want that title of through hikers. All right, second question, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it came in on YouTube. I think it's Reverwind asks, how do you physically train for your through hike? And more importantly, how do you mentally prepare, being away from family, isolation, etc.? So, Gav, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, with mental preparation, there isn't really a great way other than actually isolating, which I wouldn't recommend. But you can spend as much time with your family as you can and friends and etc. And just make sure you go into the trail with a good mental space. That's the best advice I can have for at least that part of it.
Yeah. On the mental thing, I would say I'm actually making my third or fourth lap through the book Appalachian Trials, and that is one that will help me to prepare my mind. You know, it talks about the why for the hike, how do you deal with the hike before, during, and after, and how do you keep yourself mentally awake and heading up the trail. And that's something that's very important to us, and I'll be sharing with Hawkeye some of the things that I've read from that book as we go up the trail. So yeah, mental preparedness is incredibly important. We saw a video a week or two ago, and I can't remember the gentleman's name who did the video, but he talked about likening your hiking day to a jet airplane with two engines. You've got a mental engine and a physical engine. And you know, his analogy there was on the days when your mental engine tanks out, then your physical engine, just like in an airplane, has to ramp up and carry you. And the opposite is true. If your physical energy drops, then your mental energy has to really pick up. And we're going to keep that in mind as we hike up the trail. So what are your thoughts about physically training for the hike?
Well, we haven't done nearly as much physical training as we did back in 2019. But what we have done is we've gone to Philmont. We hiked there. We did about a week trek.
We did a 9-day trek there in New Mexico and summited Baldy Mountain. That's 12,400 feet. We both handled the trip well. Didn't have any worries. Actually, about a year and a half ago, I set out to lose some weight, and I started walking around town here locally and have kept that up more or less. I was pretty solid for about 8 or 10 months. I dropped 35 pounds, and that was kind of about where I wanted to wind up, was a 35-pound loss. And I haven't kept that up for a whole variety of reasons, but you know, the last couple or three times that I've gone out to walk in the last week or two, I've still been able to keep up my pace. You know, we live in a reasonably flat town, but my pace is around 4.25 miles an hour for that 4-mile loop. And I feel like we're both physically strong enough to handle the hike. We'll start slow. When we talked about this the other day, what are your thoughts on the start?
Well, you can't floor it out of the gate. Like, you do have to start off slow, or at least my opinion is that you do. Because if you go too fast, you're likely to it's very likely that you'll get hurt or burn out or like think, my gosh, this is too hard. I'm going to stop because I can't keep doing this. But yeah, starting off slow is very important, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. We'll probably shelter hop and take 3 days to get to mountain crossings. Our goal is to get to where we can average 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
No, not
I was
15
going
miles.
to say,
But that would be awesome, wouldn't it? That would be
Sure
awesome.
would.
15 miles in a day. That's what we hope we'd like our average to look like. And we'll go up the trail. We'll go slowly. I'm older, and I need to make sure that my body's not going to tank out on me as we go up the trail. So we'll take things easy. We'll start later in the day, and we'll kind of go shelter hopping our way through at least mountain crossings before we start adding on, and we'll add on slowly.
Yeah.
And that process of training ourselves will get us into shape, and it won't be long before we'll have our hiker legs, and we'll be able to move forward. In 2019, he said we did some training hikes. Well, they were mostly just shakedown hikes, and there were 3 or 4 of them not in rapid succession. I think we started maybe in November, maybe we did one in December and one in January. So we had 3 or so of those. So that wasn't really physical training as much as it was shakedown.
Well,
and
sorry, for me it was kind of both because I hadn't done a lot of hiking in general.
True.
So it was at least getting used to.
Right. It was getting used to the concept.
Yeah.
And checking our gear and we haven't done any shakedown hikes specifically this year because we've got our gear dialed in. We don't, we feel like we're good with that. Could we have worked a few in? Yes, we probably could, but things have been kind of hectic in trying to prepare. Gavin was in school last fall, so the time wasn't there to do a whole lot of that, but I'm not really concerned about it because we are experienced. We do have our gear dialed in, and I feel like if we start slowly up the trail, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So Caleb says, I know you homeschooled Gavin during your original trip on the AT. What was that like, and how was that different from standard education? So I'll let you speak a little bit about that.
Well, I can't necessarily speak as to what it was like completely because I have a terrible memory, but as opposed to public education, it was very different. I was able to wake up relatively when I wanted to instead of having to wake up at 6 or 7, which was very nice. But I have ADHD, and with that, I am not the type of person who can sit down and just do work. I need to have a reason to do it, essentially. And I had a lot harder of a time actually getting work done when I was homeschooled because I was a lot more comfortable with my dad, and I could kind of, I had excuses and ways to get around doing work, but it was a lot harder for me to actually do work at home than it was at school, but it was a lot more fun and a lot nicer comparatively.
Yeah, I would say that, a lot of you who know me know that I'm a retired teacher. I taught high school math for 29 years, mostly advanced placement level math. I also taught at the community college when the boys were small. And I was prepared to work on math, but I wasn't prepared to teach English and history and science. So it maybe is not something that we could have sustained. And I think Gavin was happy to get back into public school, for his ninth grade year, and he did fine. Kim says, curious about how much food you pack on restock. How long does it last? Actually, Oof asked that question. Several folks were asking about, well, how much food do you pack? So typically, we'll be packing for 3 days, 2 or 3, sometimes 4 days, very occasionally 5 days. That's our typical loadout for food. But, we'll be checking along. We have AWOL's guide. We have Far Out. So we'll be planning our days a few days out so that we know, first of all, where are we going to resupply? And actually, that was a question too. And also how far we need to go between resupplies. Yeah. So for the where you resupply?
Mostly just in towns. We, at least last time, and I think we're still planning to do this, just went out to stores and bought it when we needed it. Because at least for me, I can't predict what I'm going to want in the future. So it doesn't really make sense, at least for us, to go ahead and make our food and then ship it ahead. Because if we get a few weeks or months in and we're all of a sudden sick of the pasta or rice sides, we can't really do anything but throw it in a hiker box and buy something else. So to me, at least, it kind of makes sense to just go ahead and buy what you want to buy when you want to buy it so that you know you're not going to get sick of something and then not be able to do anything but throw out what you had and get something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we did not do any resupply boxes. We are fortunate that his mom, my wife, and his brother, my son, they're within a couple of hours of the trail for a long ways. And even going into, we live in Western North Carolina, even going through Virginia, it's not a difficult weekend trip for them to make. In the summertime when Beth's out of school, she could come out and meet us. They came out to Hamburg, Pennsylvania, and saw us before. So she can bring us those special things that we might be missing. But it's really not difficult to get a ride into town. The trail crosses roads, multiple times a day. There's shuttle drivers available. So we'll be able to get into town and hit Walmart or Ingles or Food City or Dollar General or whatever. And the resupply is not a difficult thing to manage. Oof asked what was the longest resupply, and I think probably going the time that we're going, knowing that the weather may be dicey and Newfound Gap Road may be closed. Newfound Gap Road's the only out along the trail through the Smoky Mountains. And typically the Smokies are a 5 or 6 day, 7 day trip, depending on how fast you're going. I think, knowing what I know about us, I feel like 5 days will be fine. So that'll be a long one. And then you mentioned the part that we've not gotten to yet.
Yes, the 100-mile wilderness, I believe it's called.
Yeah, so the 100-mile wilderness near the end of the trail in Maine, that's a place where, you can resupply for several days, or you can actually pay a hostel to do a food drop for you about midway through. So we'll have to kind of play that by ear and see how it goes. Okay. So our dear friend Pringles asked several questions. We're actually watching the questions on a TV screen behind the camera, so let me scroll just a sec. She asked several questions. First is, what gear have you changed up? And I did a video about my big three last week, I think it was, or maybe the week before. And that actually is obsolete now. I bought a new backpack yesterday. So I was extolling the virtues of my Osprey Atmos 65, my Aether, and I actually decided that I was going to go purchase an Osprey Exos 58-liter pack. I think it's a little smaller, and it's about 1.25 pounds lighter than what I had. And I've added a little bit of weight to my pack and my electronics gear this season. So I've been trying to find some ways that I can cut some weight. And that Exos feels like it's going to carry just as well as the other Ospreys that I have.
Yeah, I actually started the trail, partway through the trail last time. I ended up switching to an Osprey Exos.
You started with the Exos.
Did I? I thought I switched to it.
No, you started with the Exos.
Okay.
And then you switched to
the Atlas?
I don't remember. I would have to look it up. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
But he started with the Exos, but you have a new pack for our trip out west this season. We got you an Atmos 65, and I think you like that.
I do like that one.
For tents, previously I used the Big Agnes Copper Spur UL2. I actually drank the Kool-Aid and have purchased a Z-Pax Duplex for this season, and that's actually going to save me just almost 2 pounds. So I'm looking forward to going with that. And then Hawkeye's taken
a Nemo Hornet, and I originally was carrying an REI quarter dome, I believe, and I don't know how much weight that saves, but I'm pretty sure it's fairly substantial.
It probably saves you 1 pound or so. One thing we've added is we both have just purchased the Gossamer Gear thin light pads. They're 3 ounces each. It's basically a 2-foot by 6-foot pad that we'll put down underneath our sleeping pads to stop the sleeping pad from surfing around the bottom of your tent. It'll also give a little bit more protection when we stay in shelters. It'll protect us from nail heads and that sort of thing. And then we both have Enlightened Equipment Enigma quilts this season, which is a little bit different. It's a little lighter, maybe not a ton, but they are warmer. They're 20-degree quilts, and so they'll keep us warmer. Pringles also asked, what are you most excited about this time around?
I'm not going to lie, I've really missed being on trail, just like the atmosphere and the people. There's a really good community around the trail, and I've missed that, so I'm very much looking forward to getting back out in that.
I think we would both agree that the people on trail is the thing that was most exciting for us. and I look forward to getting back into the trail community. And I have to do a little thing here and say I'm looking forward to maybe staying at the farm in Parisburg this season, so we can see Pringles and broccoli rabe and honey buns. So we look forward to seeing you guys, and we may do some slack packing with honey bun shuttles this year. So we're looking forward to that. Kristen asks, what will you do differently this time, considering the knowledge you gained from the last trip?
Well, I am not gonna lie. Last time I was not where I wanted to be mentally. I was struggling just a little bit, and I've gotten a lot more comfortable around my mind space and have developed a lot more mental health coping strategies and whatnot. So that is definitely going to be a big advantage, and also not taking as many 0 days and hiking a little bit faster, or longer days, I should say.
So when we hiked before, I maintained a spreadsheet that had a from and a to every day. And, in looking back over that spreadsheet, I know that we took too many days off trails. We took too many double zeros. The whole concept of a zero for a non-hiker, that's a day where you hike 0 miles or close to it. In an ideal situation, you're going to get up and be, 3 to 5 miles, a couple of hours away from town. So you hike into town in the morning, you set up your lodging either at a hostel or a hotel or what have you, and you take care of your chores, which is do laundry, take a shower, resupply, and eat town food to replenish your calories. And then ideally the next day you get up and you get the heck out of Dodge. A double zero would be when you do that, and then the second day you get up and you're this bed's awfully comfortable, and you have a hard time getting out of town. You vortex into town, and we had way too many days like that. So our 0 days I hope will look a little different this year. We still have to get into town to resupply. We don't necessarily have to stay in every town we dip into, so we hope to save some time there. And as I mentioned previously, we're hoping that we can pick up our pace and do longer mile days. We have a plan that, once we get our hiker legs, we feel like we should be able to get 10 miles in by lunchtime fairly easily. And, if the terrain is good, we can both hike 3 miles an hour or better. So, if we can get 10 by lunchtime, hiking 2 more hours gives us 15 or 16 miles. So we'll kind of play it by ear and try to lengthen our mileage in the day. But I don't have any interest in hiking from dawn to dusk. I know there's a lot of folks out there that get up with the sun and they hike and try to plan to hit a camp spot an hour before dark or 30 minutes before dark or what have you. I don't want to put in that kind of days because we hike fast enough that we don't need to do that. But we definitely need to up our daily mileage. All right, so Sally has asked several questions as well. The first is, when does a hiker hunger kick in? And the answer to that is, I'm not really sure. I don't remember being overcome with a voracious appetite when we hiked previously, but I expect that to change this time. It's not uncommon for the first couple of days out for you not to be hungry at night. Because your body is just in shock of what you're putting it through. But then after a day or 2 or 3, you start getting back to where you eat normally, and I don't expect it will take long for both of us to get to the place where we'll crave calories and eat all the time. And
at least last time, I don't think I ever had hiker kick in. I was always really picky eating wise, or at least I didn't eat a whole lot.
Second question from her: do you tent when a shelter is available?
I tend to try and stay in shelters when I can, because I personally am a big fan of not having to put away a wet tent or carry a tent and having to air it out the next day or something. Plus, it's just a lot faster to sleep in a shelter, in my opinion, because you don't have to worry about setting up a tent. There's advantages and drawbacks to both, but personally, I will always stay in a shelter if it's available.
And I commonly stayed in shelters too. I haven't made up my mind how I'll do that this year. I'm certainly prepared to stay in a tent. I sleep very well in my tent. And there's some nights you just need to be away and just have your own space. So we'll play that by ear. She asked, how often do you build a fire? And my answer is, I don't think I built a fire when we were out before. And I have a reason for that. I didn't want the responsibility of having built that fire. You have to think about Do you have water to put it out if it spreads? And a lot of places you don't necessarily have all that extra water. So I didn't want the responsibility. Now, is that to say I didn't sit by a fire somebody else had built? Yes, I did. And on those cold nights in the South, absolutely we did.
Yeah.
And, if we're in a place where a fire needs to be built and we have water available that we can manage the fire, I don't mind to take on that responsibility. That's a skill set that I have. We're both Eagle Scouts, so that's something that I can do. Sally asked, if you see trash left behind by someone else, do you pack it out?
Of course.
Absolutely. We were on a hike a couple of weekends ago locally, and somebody had lost the bottom sole, the vibram part of their shoe, and it was laying in the trail. And I was looking for my rain jacket yesterday, and I was looking in my day pack, and I realized, I've still got this vibram sole in my day pack, so I need to get that tossed out. But we firmly believe in leave no trace principles. Hopefully we'll share that with other people that are out there. But through hikers typically do a great job of taking care of the environment.
Yeah.
And her final questions was about shelter logs. Do we sign them and do we read them? I very often will read through them. I don't sign every one, but I do quite frequently sign those logs.
I sometimes read them, but I didn't really sign them a whole lot. But I would occasionally read through them, and I'm planning to probably read through them a bit more this time.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's it will let you know what's going on at the shelter, were there bear, were there mice.
It's essentially like a newspaper for the
shelter.
For the shelter.
Yeah. So we definitely look at them. We don't always sign them.
Yeah.
Sierra asks, what about bears and animals?
I think about the only bear you'd really run into on the trail is a black bear.
That's the only that. No, you're right. The grizzly bears only live in the upper northwest of the country. So
that's what I thought.
Only black bears.
Yeah. So definitely don't run from those. Don't try and pet it, for God's sake.
Be big. We're going to both be carrying poles. They say be big, spread your arms, bang your poles together, make lots of noise.
Yeah.
And right now our bear count after 1,300 miles plus on the AT is one. We saw him 3 times. We scared him off, and we had a trail switch back, so we saw him again, and we scared him off some more, and then the trail switched back another time. We'll see bears, but we'll stay. We'll definitely watch for moms and cubs, and stay out from between mom and cubs.
Yeah.
But typically, bears are as scared of us as we are of them, and as long as you're big and loud, we will be hiking probably together or with a small group of tramley. The bear's going to get out of our way, and we won't have to worry about that. Snakes, yes, rattlesnakes, we've seen them. I don't mind rattlesnakes so much because they're going to let you know when you're nearby. Copperheads are the thing that bug me, but I personally have never heard of a story involving someone having a snake bite on the trail. So we keep our eyes out. We know where they're going to be. We know when we need to be paying attention. So not really worried. And then the last question we'll give to Gavin's mom, my wife, Beth. She says, what are you looking forward First, she says, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I'm definitely, as I said earlier, looking forward to getting back into the trail life. Looking forward to seeing if we do stay at some of the shelters people we've seen before. I'm very much looking forward to coming back to Standing Bear.
Yep.
I loved that shelter or hostel last time we went. And I'm looking forward to going back to there. And I haven't been
the station in 19E.
Yeah.
Looking forward to coming back to the station.
Yeah, the farm, I don't think I've been there.
Well, I'm not sure they've got a hostel open, but some hiker friends of ours on the farm. So we'll visit them. And I know they had planned for a hostel. I don't know when that'll be coming, but they do have Honey Bun shuttles, and they're in AWOL and they're in Far Out. So check them out when you're near Pearisburg. They're great folks.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I'm looking forward to the people. But that's my favorite part. When I got home and I was looking over my videos, the one thing I really could kick myself for is I didn't video the people that we were around very much or take pictures. So I've got all these memories, but I don't have the pictures to put with it. So I'm going to try to do more of that without being intrusive, of course. But I want to take more pictures of people and interact with folks. Probably we will develop a trail family somewhere along. We'll find a group of folks that hike the same pace, the same miles, have the same values that we have, and we're looking forward to that. And then Beth asked, what are you looking forward to least about the trail life? And I can list several things there. One, we're leaving very early. And I'm concerned with our start time that we will have ice and snow and really frigid temperatures.
Yeah.
We'll plan to try to not be out in ridiculous weather, but I don't really want to hike in the cold and the wet.
No.
But we'll have to, and it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm terrifically going to miss Beth and Griffin.
Yeah.
They have supported us, and it's been great that Beth has been willing to let us have a second attempt, and we appreciate and love her for that.
Oh yeah.
We're going to miss seeing her, and we'll covet those times that she'll be able to sneak off and get on the trail with us, and or at least get us meet us on trail, and get us to town and spend a day or so. And I'm going to miss my recliner.
Oh yeah.
My recliner is where I live a lot of the time. That's where I do my editing. That's where I sit down and watch my YouTube channels at night, and it's very comfortable. But I think that the good outweighs the bad. And I'm really looking forward to the trail. How about you? What are you least looking forward to?
I'm gonna miss my friends and family, obviously, my bed and all that good stuff. But I'm also least looking forward to those times when I'm on trail and I want to stop, because I know that I am going to have those times, at least at certain points in times.
Those days when you're hiking along and you hit a wall.
I don't like those times, and I don't like, because I'm usually not a great person to be around when I'm having those times. So
I agree.
I'm not looking forward to putting other people through that. But friends, family, hitting walls, that sort of stuff.
Cool. Well, that's the bottom of our list, and I want to say thank you for joining in. Hopefully we've given you some information that you've enjoyed listening and learning about. We invite you to continue to follow along. We're making our final preparations, and we'll be heading out here shortly. I'm still hoping to have one or two more videos out before our daily hiking vlogs come out. So stay tuned, subscribe if you will. We've been blessed. We've had, I want to say, almost 350 or 400 subscribers since our trail announcement video came out on Terra Trek. So Terra, thank you very much for offering us that forum to introduce ourselves to the hiking community at large, and we appreciate all of you who have liked and subscribed and commented on our videos. So thanks again for watching us, and we'll see you soon.